Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Oh man, I feel like we need to say something new. I think welcome back has been overdone.
Howdy. Hi, y'all.
Oh man, jeez.
I wish I knew other languages.
Hola.
Hola.
That's about it for me.
Okay.
I know I've been talking about the weather. It's fall, y'all, and the holidays are coming. In fact, in Canada, they already have had Thanksgiving. Did you know they have it before us?
No.
They're trendy like that. I don't know. So I thought that today we would talk a little bit about kind of dealing with the holidays and making them what you want them to be instead of what other people want them to be. And alongside of that, maybe how talking about some of the things that people say that just really don't make me happy.
Can't believe there's anything.
I know, it's weird, isn't
Okay.
it? But I think there's just a lot of pressure with holidays, right? I mean, when you're first diagnosed or when you have found out, you know, the whole thing is that you want to be around for these big moments.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they kind of get hijacked by other people in terms of what they want you to do, maybe, or whatever. So
Okay.
I just feel like having cancer is an opportunity to kind of rewrite some of those rules. Everything's kind of thrown up into crazy land anyway. So maybe this is the time that you think about, no, I really don't want to host, or I really don't want to make a trip on Christmas Eve and Christmas morning, or whatever that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what would make the holidays feel the best for me, I guess, you know.
Back then, are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay. Got it.
I don't think guys think about this quite as much as women in some ways.
Well, I just want to make sure, are we talking about the holidays this year? Because holidays, I think, can be uncomfortable every year for everybody.
No, I agree with that. I would agree with that, but I just think that
You throw a diagnosis or treatment on top of that.
yes.
Now, yeah, life's crazy anyway.
Right.
And now you got the family. The fam.
The fam. We all love our fams, but man, if you think that your family is the only one that's a little wacky, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I think the ones that are completely normal are the exception.
Probably.
But I think it's just kind of thinking through some of it ahead of time and not feeling like you have to do all of the things that used to be, you know. I think it's also considering, like, if you have young children, what would make you the happiest and bring them joy. I think that as a parent, especially when your kids are young, spend a lot of time thinking about how to make this kind of this over the top or great thing. And a lot of times kids really just enjoy simple things, right?
Yeah, the box.
The box. But also it doesn't have to be a fancy meal. It can be a pizza with a smiley face on it that they made, or what. It can be so many different things. It's a lot of times it's us building it up in our heads. And financially too, I think it can be a lot less.
For sure.
And they can still be very happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also just preparing yourself to be around some people that you might not know what they're going to say can be a challenge. And figuring out, maybe you have a plan of attack with your spouse and some sort of signal that is the we gotta go sign.
Yep.
And also support from your spouse if that's, your situation in terms of, no, I don't want to host this time, or no, this is too much for me.
Well, I think it's especially hard when you're of the age where when your kids are adults.
Yeah.
And you've always hosted.
Yeah.
And now you have this cancer to deal with, whether you're in treatment or done treatment or before, or any of that. That's really hard. And there's some other issues as far as, spreading of infections to deal with when you're in treatment. And there's a lot going on with that. But you never want to I got to believe most people never want to give that up because of this stupid cancer. And we want to make another memory and all of that on top of it. That's hard.
Yeah, but the question with that is can we change that to a way that it still feels good? Do you want to host, but people are going to bring a lot? Or there's going to be set times that they are going to go that you're timed out on, what would be too much.
Mm-hmm.
Or are you open to new traditions and doing something different? Was it 3 years ago? I can't remember. Mm-hmm. Our nephew and his wife offered to host Thanksgiving, and we had been doing that for a while, and we were like, and they were kind of, I think, a little bit nervous, like, in asking us, and we were like, oh yes, absolutely, please host, and what can we bring? Mm-hmm. And that's already become kind of a really fun, newer tradition with them. So it's definitely possible. But I don't know. I guess I just wanted you to think about what that could look like and what you want it to look like in terms of as things are coming up. It's easier to kind of think about a plan ahead of time than to spring it on people or to fall apart on the last day saying, I didn't want this to be this or whatever, mm-hmm. And just, especially if it's really new to you, just a lot of like self-care in that. I was diagnosed right at Christmas time, mm-hmm. and it was terrible. Everything about it was terrible because it's so hard to stay in a normal conversation. And it's so hard to kind of be on your own. Everything about it is really difficult at that time. So, I don't know.
True.
Very quiet.
You're doing great. Yeah.
So, and along those lines, if you want to drop a few hints of things that people could maybe not say to you, I have a few. The first one to me is always God's will be done. I can't stand that. It was always said in the contextual kind of, it always meant that you are probably going to die. That's what it meant.
And that's okay.
And that's okay, because it's God's will.
Right.
So, I don't know. I've never heard it said in a way that was like positive. It's kind of like if something really bad happens to you, well, it's all part of the bigger plan and sucks for you, but move on.
This didn't come from our family, by the way.
No.
But it could at your next Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever.
Right.
And those things like that and other statements that have the possibility of making you really uncomfortable because of the situation you're in.
Yeah,
have a plan.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to put up with it.
Yeah.
Even when it's family.
Yeah.
Especially when it's family,
I think. Another one that would drive me crazy is what caused it. Mm-hmm. As if you're at fault or I was at fault, So that I've learned is just people also wanting to know maybe, is there something that I can avoid so that I can say, well, I'm not going to get cancer?
Mm-hmm.
And just small talk, which doesn't always go very well. Right. So another thing that I find, or I definitely found to be challenging, is like, are you still working? Or things along those lines in terms of how I was spending my time, you know. Mm-hmm. It just, that I think was enough of a challenge for me in terms of trying to figure that out. I knew that the right thing for me was to not be working and mm-hmm. to be, you know, working on killing cancer and staying and be with Sid, but it still was a challenge to kind of hear that, I think.
Because you felt guilty?
Yeah. Or because
you felt like you maybe should have been? Is that why?
No, I think it was because I just didn't. I mean, I think I was worried about the decision in terms of how it would affect us, maybe. But also it just kind of feels like sometimes like I was doubting my decision at times, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, because like in your case, there really wasn't a decision. I mean, you couldn't have worked a lot of that time in treatment. I mean, literally couldn't have.
Right.
You were not capable of doing any kind of work during that time, what we define as work. Right. And especially you being in the schools, around kids, young, snot-nosed kids every day. It literally wouldn't have been possible. So, and I've heard you say this before, but it does, you know, I just go, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
You know, and I get there's a lot of you out there that worked right through treatment. Just there's no way you could have. And I get everybody's treatment's different. I'm telling you, during yours, no way.
Right. Yeah, I think it's just always maybe the way some things get asked, it makes you go,
or by who.
Yeah. You know, and just feeling like, what am I doing? You know?
Yeah. So. Because, you know, it's similar to cancer in general. A lot of time, I mean, you can't see it from the outside.
Yeah.
So just like, what are you doing, or, you know, are you still working? Mm-hmm. You can't show people all of the stuff that you're doing. Like how we built that 5 to Thrive thing. That was all the stuff you were doing, which was a full-time job if you weren't sleeping.
Yeah.
And truthfully, it really was. And that's how you wanted it. That's how you felt you need to attack it. But that's the truth.
Yeah. So another one that's not nearly, it definitely is well-intentioned, but let me know if you need anything. Mm-hmm. I understand that comes from a place of good. Yep. But I also, what that does is it puts it on the person to have to come back with an ask and a lot of times coordinate it. Yep. So I've just found over the years, like if I am somebody who's trying to support somebody else, I'm a little bit more, it's more specific. I could come and do this. We could bring you dinner every week, whatever that looks like. Yep. You know, with something that is an offer that's specific, that somebody could say yes or no to, or maybe later, or whatever that looks like.
Instead of anything I can do or anything we can do to help, say, how, you know, is there a way we can help with the kids, getting them back and forth to whatever? We're going there anyway. It's no problem. We'd love to help you out with that. And here's the days I can do it. It's very specific. They can turn you down.
Yeah.
But
again, with holiday type of stuff, can I help you with your shopping, or do you want me to wrap for you, or any of that kind of stuff? You know, when people, it's just, it makes it a lot easier on the person, you know, that's dealing with it.
And it's obviously people are saying that because they don't know what to do in a lot of situations. And you obviously you have the right to go, well, yes. Yeah. This is what I need.
And that's also important. Say yes.
You know,
say yes. Think about what that is. And it can be, you know, I mean, if it's an offer.
I need my lawn mowed.
I need my lawn mowed, or we would really appreciate, money for gas, or whatever that
Mm-hmm.
looks like. Um, it is sometimes we've been talking a little bit in different ways, but about asking, right,
Mm-hmm.
and responding to that. So,
For sure.
any story that starts with I knew someone who, and it's going to end with, but they died. Like, I feel like this is like the classic elderly person who wants
Yep.
to be relatable, wants to say that they've have some experience with
Mm-hmm.
cancer, but I am giving you full on permission just to stop them mid sentence and say nope. Like,
Is this the happy ending or not?
there you go. Perfect.
Literally, just does this end well or not? Nope. I'd rather not hear about it. I know you have experience, but I'd rather not hear
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
Truthfully, and you'll sense it before they even open up their mouth sometimes.
Yep.
About
or it's really hard for me to hear things like that.
yeah, yep. I appreciate it, but I'm only putting in my head
Yeah, positive.
positive things that about people.
I'd love to hear good stories.
Tell me about Heather Jose.
Have you tried such and such? By that I mean, like, have you tried this miracle cure?
Yeah.
Have you tried, and again,
How do you respond to that? It was a family member.
I just say I trust the people I'm working with, or we are putting a program in place that works for us, or
Yeah. Yeah, but my Aunt Becky, she went on this cauliflower diet, and I'm telling you, the cancer was gone.
Yeah.
And they believe it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say cauliflower doesn't kill cancer. Don't, whatever. But you got to understand, the person who went through that told them that, and they witnessed Aunt Becky having cancer and then not having cancer, and obviously the X variable was the cauliflower.
Or they
want to tell everybody.
Or Aunt Becky said, got asked, what are you doing? And she's like, I've been eating a lot of cauliflower.
Yeah.
And that becomes...
It does. And people want to, and we've said from day one on this is, we have no idea why you're still here.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of things in there that you did, and a bunch of different or awesome medicines at the right time, maybe, and different procedures. And you really strengthening your immune system in your body, and all of those together. I don't think it was one thing. I've said before, I think it was your mental attitude towards all of those things that allowed your system to be as strong. But that's not something that's not what you're going to be told at a party.
No.
That's not what you're going to be told at Thanksgiving. Never.
Yeah.
It's going to be this drug that you can get in Mexico that you can't get here, or something like that. And
yeah.
You don't want to be rude to everybody, but the reality is you want to go, what the F are you talking about?
Yeah, I feel like that's so true about so many different things. I mean, even also, one of the things I thought about, because I did have reconstruction, was, somebody saying to me basically that at least I got to have that done for free. Like, my insurance company paid for that,
Mm-hmm.
Things like that, where people are trying to find the bright side of things, but just are really, and everybody's worried about their body and how it looks and all that anyway. So it's difficult, And you might get questions about how you're eating at Thanksgiving, or what are you going to eat, or are you getting enough protein?
And do you have any special? Which you might.
And you might. And if you do, that's fine. But just, tell them you'll bring it or whatever. Make it not a big deal.
I think these things did not happen a lot to you. People coming and saying these things. They really didn't. And I think the reason is because everybody in 3 circles out of Heather. So obviously our family is that first circle, and then, boom, and our church, and beyond that, you got the information out to everybody, and quite a bit of information. Was it monthly?
I don't know. About
It was about monthly where you kind of
weeks.
did an update of here's what's going on. Here's the treatment I'm doing. I just want to let people know so we don't have to have that uncomfortable conversation and then I have to tell you and then I turn around and I have to tell the next person the same story. She just thought this is a good way of getting that out there. And another thing it did is it kind of let people have an insight into Heather who didn't even know Heather, who weren't good friends with Heather about, she's probably not somebody that's looking for this piece of advice or that, or you were really straightforward. You probably didn't keep any of those, did you?
I think I have all of them.
Really? Mm-hmm. I'd be interested to go back through those and just take a look at what you said. I don't even know if I read them at the time because I was, in the part of it, but I think that was just so smart and so easy to do nowadays.
Well, yeah. I will say I think one of the early on, signals for me to do that was when I was diagnosed, we had a landline, right? Yeah. A phone. And one of Larry's friends called. I answered the phone and he asked for Larry because he had heard about me. Yeah. And it just was it was crushing. He couldn't speak to me. He didn't know what to say to me. And I understand that, but it just felt...
There's zero chance. I would have done exactly the same thing.
Yeah. And so it just was okay, how can we lessen the amount of uncomfortable conversations? That's what it was. I just really wanted to be able to be in the circles that I was in and not be explaining myself to people or just
everybody, the level of wondering that you have about somebody you care about.
And also just the whole, that whole ickiness of I'm so sorry or whatever, you know what I mean? Just getting past some of that a little bit. It's helpful.
And I think this is a pretty good piece of advice is if you're going into the holiday season and you're in treatment or just out of treatment or you already know some of these things like she's talking about that are coming your way, head them off at the pass.
Yeah.
Do a general. Yeah. This is what's going on. Yeah. This is kind of, and you're not addressing it to them, but you're stating some things that you believe or that you...
Well, one thing that I really it just occurred to me with all of you who are metastatic, people are going to, when are you done with treatment?
Sure.
You're not, right? Mm-hmm. So address that and educate people a little bit on that versus...
And that can be done prior to. Now the conversations that you have, even with your family, you're not tight with your whole extended family.
We're not tight with our whole extended family.
Right. No, you're just not. But they're going to wonder. And if they already find out a lot of this stuff, your conversations are just going to go so much better, probably. Now, we all might have a crazy aunt or an uncle that is just going to say whatever they want. Have a plan for that. Mm-hmm. But I think you can really steer some conversations in the positive by you being upfront and getting stuff out there.
Coming off of October, I think about that kind of stuff too. I can imagine, again, for the metastatic community, you seeing somebody that you don't see real often and them knowing you have cancer and them going, I thought you'd be bald. Those kind of things where it's no, or you don't look sick. There's so many of those situations that are so specific to the metastatic community. Or you look fine,
Mm-hmm. And if you do have food restrictions or I'm just not eating a lot right now because I'm in chemo or whatever that is, let them know so there's not that uncomfortable conversation at the table. Oh, she's not eating anything. Well, everybody knew you weren't going to eat anything prior, but just
come for dessert,
come
later.
I think the more you can be upfront going into these possibly uncomfortable situations, man, it's just going to do everybody good. Both sides of the table there. And it's just going to a more pleasurable experience probably for you.
And if you really want to flip it on its head, just do something completely different. You're entitled to that too. Yeah. You can make new.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. For 2 years we did. Over Christmas. We ended up going up north where we never do that.
I know.
We did, and that had to do with something with cancer. The staying here and not venturing out. on our normal quest. So
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Good memories of that.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, there's a little precursor for your holidays. You get to make the rules.
You do.
So.
For sure.
All right. We'll be back next time. We're going to talk about part 2 of the guide. So
During treatment.
yeah. All right. See ya.